Okay, so this video is going to be kind of long because we are reviewing for the final, so it's over all chapters 1 through 6. So I'll try to go through them semi-quickly. If you need to pause, reverse, you can do that. Okay, so this one we need to solve for h. So first we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, add 22 to get rid of it. You have to do the things not attached to h first. And then divide by 9. So we get 3 is greater than h. Well, we always want h on the left side, so since it's eating 3, we got to keep eating 3. Okay, this is going to be an open dot because it doesn't have the line underneath, and it's going to be shaded because the arrow points to the left, shaded to the left. Okay, so then 3 is open dot 2, and it's also shaded to the left, so my answer would be this double shaded region here. It's one of the weird ones. Okay, this one, we'd subtract 7 first. Let me get a different color. Subtract 7, so we get x is greater than negative 9. Got to add 2 to get rid of it. Divide by 2, so x is less than 9. Okay, they're both going to be open dots, and since it's and, we think, well, they should be shading inward towards each other, because or normally shades outward. So this points to the right, so we shade to the right. This points to the left, so we shade to the left. So they share the center part. Okay, this, we see parentheses, so we know we got to distribute, so we're going to get negative 3p, and then negative 3 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Now we need our p's on one side, our numbers on one side, so we're going to get negative 3p is less than p plus 6. Subtract p, negative 4p, divide by negative 4. Okay, we divided by negative, so we have to flip our sign. If we multiply or divide by negative, flip the sign. So there's my answer. Okay, got to distribute again. So we get 56 plus 8a. Let's subtract 3a from both sides. Subtract 56 from both sides, so we get negative 40 is less than 5a. Divide by 5. So negative 8. Okay, we have to make sure our a is first, so since it's eating the a, we keep eating the a. Okay, since this is division, that means division, we're going to have to multiply both sides by negative 7. Oops. Okay, negative 7 times negative 8 is negative 56. But we multiplied by a negative, so we have to make sure we flip that sign. And then we have to write x first, so since it's eating x, we got to keep eating x. So there's my answer. Okay, since it's dividing, we have to multiply both sides by negative 9. So since we multiplied by a negative, we got to flip our sign. 1 times negative 9 is negative 9, because anything times 1 is just itself. Okay. Okay, this we're going to need a calculator. The square root of 3.45 is 1.85741 blah 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 blah. Okay, so we're trying to fill in one of these signs into this blank space here. So this is the same thing as 1.8000, because if you add zeros to things, it doesn't change anything. So is 1.80 bigger than or smaller than 1.85? Well, we want to eat the bigger one because you want the more chicken nuggets. 1.85 is bigger than 1.80, so our sign should be eating the bigger one. Okay, this we see all numbers, so we have to do PEMDAS. Okay, so we have parentheses. So we can do 3 squared, so 3 times 3 is 9, still have parentheses. So 9 minus 3 is 6. We don't have any exponents. We have something we can multiply. 6 times 8 is 48, and then 48 plus 6 is 54. Okay, got to get h by itself, so you got to do the things not attached to it first. So 29 minus 13 is 16. Divide by negative 8 to get h by itself. H should equal negative 2. Again, you can plug it back into h here to check to make sure that you got your answer correct. Okay, we see parentheses, we got to distribute. 7 times 9 is 63, because negative and a negative make a positive. Got to get our x's on both sides, so to cancel it on one side, we got to add it. So we get 63 equals, is that 9x? Divide both sides by 9. X equals 7. Again, plug it back in for your x's to check to make sure it's true. Okay, so since we're dividing here, we got to make sure we multiply both sides by 5. So we should get negative 45. Okay, we don't flip our sign because we didn't multiply or divide by a negative. Since 5 is positive, we don't flip our sign. But I want x on the left side, so since it's eating the negative 45, we keep eating the negative 45. Okay, we have parentheses, so we got to distribute. So we get 4k, and then 4 times negative 15 is negative 60. Got to get our k's over to the other side, so we got to subtract it from this side to get it to cancel. So negative 3k is equal to negative 60. Divide by negative 3 to get k by itself. So k should equal 20. Again, plug it back in for your k's to see if it's true. Okay, so we're multiplying, so to get rid of it, we have to divide. So 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. Again, we divided by a negative, so we have to flip our sign, but I want n in front. So since it's eating negative 8, we got to keep eating negative 8. Okay, I want m by itself, so to get rid of it on this side, we have to subtract it. Oops. So negative 18 minus 6 is negative 24. Again, you can plug it back in to make sure that it's true. Okay, this one's a little weird with this. A positive and a negative, that's the same thing as t minus 23. Okay, so to get rid of 23, we have to add it to both sides. So t should then equal 11, because negative 12 plus 23 is positive 11. Okay, so we're multiplying, so to get rid of it, we have to divide. So 72 divided by negative 12 should be negative 6. Again, plug it back in if you want to check to make sure that you have the right answer. Okay, determine whether a relation is a function. Okay, a function would have to follow my vertical line test. So say I have this picture here. I'm going to draw a bunch of vertical lines. If it crosses my vertical lines only once, it's a function. But if it crosses my vertical line twice, like this, so if it has the same x value, that means it crosses twice, then it's not a function. So we're going to look to see if I have any x values that repeat. So it looks like we do, so it's not a function. So your x values can't repeat for it to be a function. Okay, what's the equation of the line from the graph below? Well, an equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. Okay, so m is my slope, b is my y-intercept. Okay, so my y-intercept is negative 1, so we can fill that in. Now I need to find slope. So to find my slope, I can go from one point to the next. So I rise 2, and I run to the left 1, so it has to be negative 1. So then my slope is negative 2, because 2 divided by negative 1 is negative 2. So that means my equation of my line is y equals negative 2x minus 1. Okay, what's the equation of the line 6,2 with a slope of negative 1/3? So I'm going to use point slope because I think point slope's easier. You can use slope intercept if you want. So this is going to be x1, y1. And I'm just going to plug it in. This is going to be my m because slope is always m. So my y1 is 2, my slope is negative 1/3, and my x1 is 6. Okay, let's go ahead and solve it to get it into slope-intercept form. So we get negative 1/3 x plus 2, because 6 divided by 3 is 2. Got to add 2 to both sides to get y by itself. There's my equation of my line in slope-intercept form. Okay, what's the ordered pair that's a solution to the following equation? So this, to find if it's a solution, we're just going to plug the points in. So we're going to plug this in for x and y. So 0 equals 2 minus 2. Well, 2 minus 2 is 0, so that's my answer. Okay, domain, if y equals x minus 2, if the domain is -4, 0, and 1. Well, domain is all my x values. So I have 3 x values here. So I'm just going to plug them in for my x to figure out what my y is. So y equals, we're going to do -4 minus 2, y equals 0 minus 2, and y equals 1 minus 2, because I have to have 3 different y values. So -4 minus 2 is -6, 0 minus 2 is -2, and 1 minus 2 is -1. So here are my 3 answers. Okay, we just did that one and that one. Okay, if x equals 2, all we have to do is replace all my x's with 2. Whenever you're plugging in a number into a situation like this, always put it in parentheses though, because it will matter if we have a negative. So I'm going to put my 2 in parentheses. So I'm plugging that into each spot. So 2 squared is 4. 3 times 2 is 6. So I'm working inside out. 4 cubed is 64. 6 squared is 36. So my answer should be 100. Okay, solve the inequality. Well, I have x's on the same side of each other, so since they're on the same side, we're not moving from one side to the other. You do what it says. So 3x plus x is 4x. Oops. Okay, now we want our x's on one side and our numbers on one side. So let's subtract 8x. And add 5. Okay, now we have to get x by itself, so we're going to divide everything by, going to divide everything by -4. We divided by negative, so we flip our sign. 12 divided by -4 is -3. Okay, slope of the line. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this. So slope, you have to go from one point to the other. Slope is always rise over run. Okay, so if I'm going from this point right here to this point right here, I rise 2 and I run 1. So my slope then is 2. Rising is positive, going to the right is positive as well. If you would have gone down first, it would have been negative, or if you would have gone to the left, it would have also been negative. But for this one, we went up and went to the right, so they're both positive. Okay, find the x and y intercepts. X and y intercepts, you always have to get it in standard form to be able to do. So we need to get x and y on the same side. So we're going to subtract x, and then we're going to do the cover-up method. So I'm going to write it twice here. Okay, so for this, I'm going to find my x-intercept, so I cover up y. To get x by itself, divide by -1, so x equals -2. For this one, I got to get y by itself. Well, it looks like it's just y equals 2. So you use the cover-up method to find intercepts. You could have also graphed it to see where it crosses your x and y axis at, and that would have worked too. What's the equation of the line? With the point 0, 2, and 2, 0. Well, whenever we're looking at equations of a line, we always have to have slope first. Always, always, always. So slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So my y2 is 0, my y1 is 2, x2 is 2, x1 is 0. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. 2 minus 0 is 2. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Okay, now I'm going to put it into point slope. You could put it into slope intercept. Again, I think this is easier to go from. Okay, so I'm going to pick a point. Let's just pick 0, 2, and we have to put our slope into. So y minus 2 is equal to negative 1, x minus 0. Got to solve it, so we distribute that negative 1. So it's negative x plus 0. That 0 just goes away. And then we got to add 2 to both sides to get y by itself. So our equation of our line, I always want to try to get it to slope-intercept form mostly because it's something that I can graph if I need to. Okay, what's the equation of a line? So I want to get this into slope-intercept. So I got to get y by itself. So we're going to distribute this 1/2. So it's going to be 1/2 x minus 3 because 6 divided by 2 is 3. Add 2 to both sides, so y equals 1/2 x minus 1. So there's my equation of my line. Okay, what's the equation? So again, we have to find slope first. So we do y2, which is 8, minus y1 is 0, x2 minus x1. So we get 8 over 4, which is 2. Let's pick this point to put in point slope. Y minus 0 equals 2 times x minus 0. Distribute the 2 because you got to get y by itself. Okay, so that plus 0 just goes away. This 0 goes away because it doesn't mean anything. So our equation of our line is y equals 2x. Okay, so we're going to look at this, see if there's any we can eliminate based on the fact that it's solid lines. Doesn't look like it. So now I'm going to pick a point in my shaded region. Let's pick this point here. So that's negative 1, 0. Okay, remember points are x comma y, so x is negative 1, and we didn't move on our y, so it's 0. Now we got to plug it in to see which one is true. So let's plug it into A. So 2, oops. So my 0, because I just plug in my y since it's the only thing, 0 isn't greater than 2, so we can knock that one out. And this is the same thing, so we can knock him out. So let's look at B. 0 is less than or equal to 2, so we got that. Now I got to plug in the other one. So 0 is less than. If I put a negative in for a negative x, it makes it a positive. So that's going to be a positive 1. So my answer here is going to be B. Okay. It doesn't look like we can eliminate any based on the fact that this is a dashed line. Remember, dashed line is an inequality that looks like this, and this is a solid line. So let's pick our point right here. Let's pick 1, 0 and plug it into A. So we got 0 is less than or equal to negative 1 minus 2. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. 0 isn't less than negative 3, so we can knock him out. And then that's the exact same problem. So let's look at C. Well, we already know that this has to be true because they're both the same thing. So now let's look at the second equation and put in 1, 0. So we got 0 is less than 3 times 1 minus 1. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So C is our answer. Okay, solve the systems of the equations. So this one, I see that x is by itself, so I can use substitution because it's on one side of the equal sign. So I can plug this in wherever I see x. So I'm going to take 7 times y plus 3 minus 4y is equal to 12. Distribute this 7, so I'm going to get 7y plus 21 minus 4y equals 12. We can combine these y's to get 3y. Subtract 21. 12 minus 21 is negative 9. Divide both sides by 3, so my y should equal negative 3. Well, it looks like D is the only one that has y, because remember points are x comma y. Y is negative 3. Now, check your answer. Plug this point back into both of these equations to make sure that it's true. plug it back in to make sure it's true. Okay, this one we can use elimination because x and y are both on the same side. Okay, so I'm going to eliminate my x's. So to get my x's to be the same number in front, but one positive, one negative, I have to multiply by -2. So then I'd have negative 4x plus 6y. Remember, distribute to everything is equal to 54. Okay, now I'm just going to, so I don't have to rewrite it. Okay, my x's will cancel. Oops. So I'll get 16y is equal to 80. Divide both by 16. Y should equal 5. Looks like A only has the one that y equals to 5. If I needed to find x because they are the same, I take my y and plug it back into my equation for y and solve for x. Okay, but again, check your answer. Plug this point back into both of my equations to make sure you have the correct point. You don't want to miss any stupid problems because you're not checking it. Okay. It looks like my x's should cancel on this one because they're the same number. One's positive, one negative. Y plus y is 2y. Don't make the mistake of just making it y. Divide by 2. Y should equal 10. It looks like I have 2 that my y equal 10, so I got to plug it back in. So I'm going to plug it back into the second equation. Got to subtract 10, so my x should equal -1. Okay, again, plug it back into both equations to check to make sure you have it right. Determine which ordered pair represents a solution. Okay, so this is x comma y. So for this first one, A is 4, so I'd go over 1, 2, 3, 4 on my x, and then up to, that's not in my shaded region. 0, 0, boom, shaded region. There we go. Because this one, you have to walk to the elevator before you ride it to get to a point. Okay, which method should be used for substitution? Okay, substitution, our one rule is either x or y has to be by itself on one side of the equal sign. If we look at this, x is by itself, so my answer is going to be B. Okay, Kayla is 2 feet shorter than her friend Tyler. Their combined height is 10 feet. How many feet tall is Kayla? So we're going to do K equals Kayla, T equals Tyler. Okay, so their combined height is 10 feet. So if I add both their heights together, it should be 10 feet. Now, Kayla is 2 feet shorter than her friend Tyler. So if I subtracted 2 feet from Tyler's, I should get Kayla's. Okay, substitution. Let's plop that in for K because K means the same thing. T plus T is 2T. Add 2. 2T is equal to 12. Divide by 2. So T is equal to 6. But I need to find Kayla's height. So let's plug it back into this equation here. So 6 minus 2 should equal Kayla's. So Kayla should equal 4. Again, 4 feet if you had to label it. Okay, if f of x equals -4x plus 8, find the value of f of 1. So f of x, this one's a little confusing. It's just meaning a function. Well, y is also a function, so we're just going to make this y. Okay, and this f of 1 and this replaces my x, so I'm just going to replace my x with 1. Okay, so -4 times 1 is -4. -4 plus 8 is 4. Okay, just think of this one if you get confused. Think of it as like when I give you a domain and I give you a bunch of numbers and you have to plug it in for x. Just think you're plugging this number in for x. Always just think you're plugging it in for x because that's what we normally do. Okay, determine whether the relation is a function. Well, we got to do our vertical line test, see if it crosses twice. It looks like all of our x values are different and they only cross once, so it is a function. Okay, determine which ordered pair represents the solution of the inequalities. If we look at A, -3, 0 is right here, so that's not good. 0, 3, remember, because we have to do our x first, then our y. That's no good. 0, negative 3 sits in my shaded region, so there's my answer. Okay, we can automatically eliminate A and D because those are solid lines. So now let's take a look at B and C. Looks like I can use this point, which is 1, 0. So let's plug it into B. Okay, is 0 greater than 1? Nope. So our answer is C. So always pick a point that's in your shaded region to check it. Okay, this point we can do 0, 1. Let's plug it into A. 2 times 0 minus 2. 2 times 0 is 0 minus 2. So that one's good. Now let's try the other one. 1 is greater than negative 2 times 0. Negative 2 times 0 is 0, so that one's good. So A is our answer. Okay, this one we need to get x by itself in the middle, so we got to add 2 to both sides. Okay, and since I have two inequalities, I have to do it to both sides. Don't forget, negative 1 plus 2 is 2. 10 plus 2 is 12. Okay, x is still not by itself, so we got to divide everything by 3. 1 divided by 3 is not 3. It is also not 1. It is 1/3. Okay, if we would have taken 3 divided by 1, it would have been 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Oops, that's a bit ugly inequality. So there's my answer. Okay, this is going to be a graph because it doesn't have any numbers, and it says, what would the graph look like? Okay, there were no books at the library. Then on Monday, some people donated a couple. On Wednesday, lots more were brought in, but then on Thursday, a lot were checked back out. What would the graph look like? Okay, so we started at 0 because there's no books. So we're starting there. Then on Monday, some people donated a couple. On Wednesday, lots more were brought in. Well, what happened to Tuesday? So Tuesday it was constant, but then Wednesday a lot more were brought in. Thursday a lot were checked back out. So we had to go back down. Okay, a lot of people missed this Tuesday right here, so make sure you read the equation thoroughly. Okay, this we have a negative in front of our parentheses, so we have to distribute it. We can't just let it go away because that negative means something. Okay, if you want to get used to it, if there's a plus sign, distribute the plus sign. That would not change anything, but it would get you in the habit. Okay, so it's going to flip all my signs. So this is going to become a negative 9x squared, negative 3x, positive 2. Combine our like terms, so let's x squareds. Negative 4x squared minus 9x squared is negative 13x squared. Negative 4x minus 3x is negative 7x. 6 plus 2 is 8. So there's my answer. We can't combine these because x squared is different than x. The 8 doesn't even have an x, so we can only combine our like terms. Okay, y plus 3 over 2 is equal to 6. Got to get y by itself. The reason we can't subtract 3 first is because that 2 is still attached to it. Okay, and since that's a division, we have to make sure we multiply both sides by 2 to get it to cancel. So 6 times 2 is 12. Now we can subtract our 3. So y equals 9. Plug it back in, see if it works. 9 plus 3 over 2 is equal to 6. Okay, 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So it worked. Okay, a bunch of numbers. PEMDAS. Okay, so do I have parentheses? Yes, I do. 6 minus 2 is 4. Do I have exponents? No. Do I have things I can multiply? Yes. 2 times 4 is 8. 7 times 3 is 21. 21 plus 6 is 27. So there's my answer. Okay, what's the equation of the line with 4, negative 2, 6, 8? Remember, we always have to find slope first, and that's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to do y2 minus y1. That's the part people mess up on. You always have to have a minus, plus it's a negative, okay? And then x2 minus x1. So this two negatives change to a positive. So we got 10 over 2, which is 5. Now I'm going to put it into point slope. So I'm going to do y minus negative 2 is equal to 5 times x minus my x1. We distributed, again, two negatives make a positive here. So I get 5x minus 20, subtract 2, so y equals 5x minus 22. There's my answer. That's my equation of a line that I can graph if I really wanted to. Okay, I see parentheses, I gotta distribute. 2x plus 2. Gotta get my x's on one side, so let's go ahead and just subtract 6x. Subtract 2, because we want x by itself. Divide by negative 4. I divided by negative, I have to flip my sign. And don't lose that negative when you rewrite it here, because a lot of people lose their negative again when they are dividing. Okay, we want to combine like terms. So these don't have squared, so we can combine them, so we get 105p plus 11p squared. Boom. Okay, we can't combine those because the p squared isn't a like term with p. Okay, change the slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b because it has a slope and an intercept. So we have to get y by itself. So let's distribute this. So we get 3x minus 3. Add 2. 3x minus 1. There's my answer. Okay, what's the equation of the line? We just did that one. Change to standard form. Well, let's go ahead and get y by itself first. Negative 2 times positive 7 should give me negative 14. Add 3. If you remember from earlier, standard form is when x and y are by itself on one side of the equal sign. So we got to get this 2x over to the other side. And now if we wanted, we could do our cover-up method to find x and y intercepts, but standard form is just x and y on the same side. It's ax plus by equals c. Okay, so this, to find x and y intercepts, we have to get our 3y over, because again, we said we have to have it in standard form. I'm going to write it twice so that I can do my cover-up method. So let's cover up the x. Negative 3y is equal to negative 6. Divide by negative 3, y equals 2, so there's my y. Cover up my y. Divide both sides by 2, so x should equal negative 3. Ooh, this one we could either multiply both sides by 4 because it's division, or we could cross multiply. So x times 3 is 3x. 4 times 2 is 8. Got to divide both sides by 3 to get x by itself. So x should equal 8/3. Okay, this I could multiply both sides by negative 4 to get rid of it and then divide by 3. Or I could multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, the reason it has to be the reciprocal is because these need to cancel. Because that's why we're multiplying. So negative 4 times 4 is negative 16. 3 times 1 is 3. There's my answer. So multiply by the reciprocal, and then when we're multiplying fractions, we multiply across. Okay, bunch of numbers, PEMDAS. Okay, parentheses. 3 minus 2 is 1. Oops. Exponents. So 4 squared is 16. And then multiplication, so 3 times 1 is 3. So my answer is 19. Find the x and y intercepts. We do the cover-up method, so let's cover up. Divide by negative 6. So y should equal negative 2. And then the other one is 2x minus. Cover up the 6y, divide by 2. So x should equal 6. Okay, change the slope-intercept, so that's y equals mx plus b. So we have to get y by itself, so we distribute. So half of 4 is 2. Oops. So it should be 2 over here too. Subtract 2. So y should equal 2x minus 4. Okay, this we got to distribute first because I see parentheses. So 5 times p is 5p. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Okay, looks like we have two of these that we can combine to get negative 5p minus 10 plus 11p squared. And we can't combine any of those because none of them are like terms. What's the equation of the line shown? Okay, it looks like I can plug in my point 0, 1. So let's plug it in to A. 1 is greater than 0 plus 2. 1 is greater than 2, so that one didn't work. Okay, let's plug it in for B. So 1 is greater than 0 plus 2, so that one didn't work either. So let's try C. 1 is less than 0 plus 2. 1 is less than 2, so that part worked, which is the same as that one. Now let's try the other one. So 1 is greater than or equal to 0, so C is my answer. I plugged in this point right here, 0, 1. Okay, so this is a dashed line, so I can automatically eliminate these two. And we can plug in 0, 0 because it's in my shaded region. So 0 is greater than 3/4 times 0 plus 3. Those cancel because anything times 0 is 0. 0 is not greater than 3, so there's my answer. I picked the other one. Okay, so it looks like this negative 6 here is a solid line, so we can eliminate all of the equations that have the y-intercept of negative 6 that has it sitting at a dashed line. So we can eliminate those. Now I have to plug in a point. So we have to plug in, let's see, 2, negative 9 is the point that's there. Okay, so let's put it into this first equation here. Negative 9 is greater than or equal to 2 minus 6. 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Negative 9 is not greater than negative 4 because it is farther left in the negatives. So this is going to be my answer. Okay, Sally charges $9 per hour to paint and $4 per hour to plant flowers. Last week, she painted and planted for 18 hours and earned $200. How many hours did she spend painting? Okay, so we want to put money with money. So let's do 9x plus 14y is equal to 200. So my money is with my money. Okay, so x is going to be painting. So that means y is planting. Okay, and now she earned a total, doing both of them, to be 18 hours. So the amount of hours for both of them should equal 18. Okay, how many hours did she spend painting? So I want to figure out what my x equals. So I'm going to multiply this by negative 14 to get my y's to cancel. So it's going to be negative 14x minus 14y is equal to 18 times negative 14 is negative 252. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and erase this so I can save some space. Okay, so 9x plus negative 14x is negative 5x. 200 plus negative 252 is negative 52. So x should equal positive $50.40. So that's how much she earned, or how many hours she painted that week. Okay, this one I could plug in my point 1, 0. So let's plug it into A. So 0 is less than or equal to negative 1 minus 2. 0 is less than or equal to negative 3. So we can eliminate that one, and it looks like that one's the same. Let's plug it into C now. 0 is less than or equal to, well, we don't have to do the first one because they're both the same here. So 0 is less than 3 times 1 minus 1. 0 is less than 3 times 1 is 3, minus 1 is 2. So C is my answer. Okay, let's do negative 1, 0. Let's plug it into A, so 0. Okay, so 0 isn't greater than 2, so we can eliminate this one and this one. Let's plug it into B. 0 is less than or equal to negative 1. Well, if we put a negative in for negative x, it goes to positive, so this one is my answer.